Dear students, we are going to discuss writing style of John Ruskin. So first of all, Ruskin was an English art critic, draughtsman, social thinker, and a writer. He was a leading figure in Victorian period. He wrote on various topics and subject that includes literature, education, geology, myth, architecture, botany, ornithology, and political economy. So he was not dealing with only English literature. He was having lots of other subjects too. The way his subject matters were diverse, his literary forms and writing styles were diverse. He wrote poetry, essays, lectures, manuals, a traveling guide, a fairy tale, and letters. He was also a painter and made sketches and paintings of plants, rocks, landscape, and architectural structure. So, John Ruskin was born on 8th February 1819 in South London to John James Ruskin and Margaret Ruskin. His father was a wine merchant and his mother was a daughter of a pub proprietor. Ruskin spent his early childhood in Scottish. At the age of 4, he shifted to South London's Harney Hill. His early life in rural areas made him a lifelong lover of nature. He received his early education at home. He got influenced by watercolor collection of his father. He started writing poems at the age of 7. He would read and interrupt the Bible on a daily basis. The interpretation made his basis for the criticism. He traveled all across the world by his family wealth. Ruskin was highly inspired by the scenic landscape of the Lake District. He wrote the poem on uh, Skidda and Derwent water. After the beautiful scenery of the Lake District, he had been influenced by romantic poets such as Baron, Wordsworth, and Scott. He also collected a minerals dictionary. So now we can discuss John Ruskin's writing style. In the history of English prose, Ruskin occupies a prominent position. Certainly, Ruskin is the utmost mastery of style of English prose. In the Victorian era, grand style and grand language in prose and poetry were widely used. However, Ruskin contributed to the English prose without implying the grand style or the antithesis and similes of Leland and the balance and parallelism of Johnson. Ruskin implied a flexible language. That is the first point, and bent it according to his use. He used simple language in the picture description, argument, personal appeal, and persuasion. Even though he had carefully read Dr. Johnson, Alexander Pope, and Hooker, Ruskin sustained the uniqueness and individuality in his style. Now he is regarded as the master of English language. The number second, we can say the earlier prose writing of Ruskin is ornamental and gorgeous. He implied outstanding descriptive passages. These passages demonstrate his tendency and feeling for the beauty of color and form the use of superlative. Ruskin started his literary career as art critic. In literary expressions, he could not avoid employing pictures. For example, in his book Modern Painters, he implied a rhetorical and poetic touch. He used phrases such as flashing fullness of daylight, waves drink, and the clouds breathe, and the bounding and burning in the intensity of joy for ornamentation. Ruskin illustrates his mastery of motion, sounds, and color of words. He illustrates his richness and power in the illustration of scene's beauty. So the next one is the principal style Ruskin implied in his work is rhythm. The rhythmic quality of Ruskin is admired by Sainsbury by saying that His work often cross the boundary between the master and rhythm, thus creating willfulness and want of self criticism. Therefore, his work turns out to be blank verse. The rhythmic flow of his sentences in influenced by Bible rhythm is created in his work because of his choice words and imagery. For example, in his book Unto This Last, Ruskin writes, "Ya sheep without a shepherd, it is not the posture that has been shut from you, but the presence." The next one is the length of sentence is another distinguished quality of Ruskin style. Since the 17th century, Ruskin is the first writer who wrote sentences of almost 20 or 30 lines, even of one page. His sentences contain 200, 250, and 280 words with a single pause. Each sentence contains more than 50 commas, semicolons, and colon. Despite the long sentences, his sentences have a flow, blended images, and harmony of tone. The word and are simple and complete, and the passage is read without any difficulty in comprehension. His book work is filled with the example of long sentences. So that is the style of Ruskin we have discussed.